Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SVCreates. Okay, welcome to the Content Magazine podcast. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host, and I'm here today with Connie Martinez, who is the executive director of SVCreates and my boss and responsible for bringing me to SVCreates.
That's
so
true.
I have a lot of love and admiration for you for lots of different reasons. Probably mostly because you are one of the most unique leaders that I've ever really known.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, you have such a great talent and breadth of knowledge and skill set that I've never really... I'm going to cry in this interview.
Daniel.
Yeah. No, but you have a great balance between a business-minded, a creative understanding of the culture, and at the same time you're able to bring leadership, but with grace. How do you think how did you learn those skills, or was this something that you always kind of had? Was this kind of great balance between different talents?
Wow. So first of all...
I'm jumping right into it.
Yeah. No, but thank you. Why did you wait this long to tell me?
I tell you that all the time.
No.
Well, I tell other people
I'm
maybe.
sort of teasing.
I think I tell other people. Yeah.
So, I think that it's a combination of life experience and education. Okay, so you want me to go through what that means?
Well, you majored in business.
Yeah,
right?
So I had, but it's also tied to life experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 21 years old with 2 babies in diapers and single.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You get real right about then.
Yeah.
And I'm very pragmatic. And so I had been a history major. I love history, economics. And so I actually chose business because I needed and wanted to support my 2 daughters.
Yeah. Okay.
It's as simple as that.
So then you hadn't planned necessarily to go into, when you were 21 and had the 2 daughters, were you thinking, did you have a outside career, or was it more like a home? You were going to be a housewife, or that type of thing?
No,
or?
I think I never had any aspirations to be a housewife. I'll be honest.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fair. I don't either.
But the reality, first of all, I was just a kid, right?
Yeah. How do you know?
I think of my daughters and my grandchildren now, and my oldest grandson is 16, and I wasn't that much older than him. It's pretty, amazing. So you find yourself in these circumstances, but I think the basic energy of a pragmatist, and I think I have a strong analytical leaning.
Yeah.
I'm a problem solver, that I moved into project management mode.
Yeah.
So that's what I do when I'm facing challenges.
Yeah.
And so the business education, which ended up being an undergraduate degree in finance and an MBA in information systems, it was all about wanting to support my family and my own independence.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's a combination of navigating life's struggles and challenges, overlaid with an education that fine-tuned my analytical skills. That I think was the foundation. And then I had, multiple experiences, and I learned a lot through failure, which, they say that, it's kind of a Silicon Valley thing, fail fast. And
what did you fail at? What would you consider to be some of the failures in your earlier career?
In my earlier career, I think from a management standpoint, well, first of all, and maybe you'll appreciate this, maybe not. I think it's an unnatural act to supervise other adults.
Yeah.
So I'm in this leadership, sort of category of providing direction, framework, resources, framework for, tied to some sort of outcome or mission, and then hiring the people that fit into the possibility of that aspiration, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I did with content, right?
Yeah, I think that is probably a lot of, that makes sense to the way that you run SVCreates, right? It's not you're not a heavy-handed.
I'm not a micromanager.
You're not a micromanager, but at the same time, though, you do have. That's what I was saying.
Pay attention to details.
You pay attention to details. You still, because I think you're a person of like high quality and standards. I think that you inspire others to work at their best.
I would hope that's the case. Yeah. And so it's if you're a micromanager, you don't necessarily get the full benefit of people's vision and passion, and I think you're right. So that if you play to their strengths and the things that matter to them in alignment with what you get done, and let them go and resource them, they will deliver more than if you had a tightly run supervisory kind of relationship. So, but picking the right people is a lot of the success factors and especially and we're talking about the arts. It's in Silicon Valley, we're a startup culture, right? So what do you do in a startup? You pick people you know.
So then would you say the your beginning like failures that you call them, the things that you learned were in that management of people type areas?
Oh yes. Without enrolling people and letting them, sometimes I will have the answer. And I hold it back. And in the early days, I think I was I was much more of a know-it-all. And basically saying, well, this is obvious to me. Why isn't it obvious to you? But you have to enroll people and let them experiencing their own journey towards this sort of shared vision. And so the other thing I think I've learned, and I've also learned this as a parent, and you're a parent too. I'm not the critical parent. I'm the person that focuses on the 90 or 95% that's fabulous. I let the 5 to 10% go. Because guess what? It's uninspiring. And so it's really, if you think about my management philosophy, it's much more aligned with inspiration and vision, but know that execution is everything. So you have to provide enough opportunity for people to succeed and enough rope for them to hang you, not them. In other words, you got to take care of them and give them an opportunity, but you only do that if you already trust them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. I think that's probably why you don't try to task me with too many spreadsheets.
That's right.
And I appreciate that.
And I play to your strengths. I do.
As few as there are. But so you do have, it's kind of interesting because your leadership side, and I could see that. I imagine if we met each other when we were both younger, we probably would be at each other's, we'd probably buck heads a little bit more because you're an opinionated person, I would say.
I am, but I think I learned to navigate that relatively young.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, I think the thing is that it's kind of funny in some circles. I've heard people say this, and I even have said it myself. It's like, well, I'll just do what Connie says. Do you know what I mean? Like, or people say like, well, don't disagree with Connie. But it's kind of like a joke. But at the same time, it's kind of like an honor for you, I think, because people realize that you do have really good ideas and really good ideas and strategies to execute those. And I think people recognize it. So maybe even you don't share necessarily out front. I think people, I've even heard like, and I'm going to name drop the ex-mayor of San Jose say like, well, don't disagree with Connie, just do it. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you've earned a reputation of being able to execute and lead that people say like, what does Connie think on that matter? And then
on the one hand, you may be giving me a little bit too much credit, but
I don't know. We'll see.
But it's not intentional that I'm trying to make people feel like it's my way or the highway. That's not the case. And I hope you know by now, having worked with each other closely for now, how many years now, Daniel?
Yeah, now
Seven?
Yeah, it's since.
So is that I don't want to be around a bunch of yes people.
Right.
So I want to be challenged. But you know what? in order to be challenged and have that conversation, there has to be mutual respect.
Yeah.
And so then you can have a real conversation
Yeah.
if there is that as a foundation.
Yeah.
But so I think, you asked about failures, and I think that, I've already answered it on one level, which is you try to be a little, I think I lean towards a little top down, and I've totally let go of that.
Okay.
And so, and it blossoms, because guess what? Nobody does it exactly the way I would do it.
Right.
But I can't do everything.
Right. Yeah, totally.
And so the cumulative impact of letting people grow into their full potential is much more productive and rewarding than to have it your way.
Yeah. Totally.
So, and I've heard people say, like, oh, they come into the room, you don't challenge. Well, that's certainly not what I'm trying to project. But I do have strong opinions, and when I have them, I don't necessarily hold them back unless I'm in this sort of relationship of bringing people along and wanting to hear sincerely what other people's opinions are.
Yeah.
Because out of that, you get better decisions.
Yeah, results.
You do.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think you see people in different leadership positions, and they're doing the things that it says in the leadership books, right? Where it says listen to your team and bring your team in. But you can kind of get this kind of unconscious recognition that that's really not what they're moving you along in their direction. And I never felt that way with you at all.
Yeah,
even though
it's
I feel
sort of manipulative. You could be manipulative.
Yeah, totally. And so people are trying to do what it is in the books. And I don't feel like your leadership style and who you are, there's an authenticity and a genuineness that listens. And yet at the same time, I feel like with grace, you could still say, no, this is a better way. And I think people, and myself too, will go, well, yeah, that does make sense.
So, let's use a specific example that you and I just went through.
Yeah.
And our board, as you know, at our board retreat, we were very engaged, and we developed a strategic framework and all of our strategies for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I could have written the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not engaged anyone.
Right.
But guess what?
Yeah.
It's better that I didn't.
Yeah.
The content is better.
Yeah.
And there's ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the different experience that people bring and their skill sets.
So I don't think that's manipulative. Yeah. Well, you and I talk about this. It's strategic.
It's strategic. Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, there's a balance. I think. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move off on that. I did want to actually ask you though. Well, I guess the big thing now is the reason we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Is because you're retiring.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the question
Hate the word.
Oh, yeah. What word would you use rather than
I don't have a better word. It's a transition, but, that has its own meaning these days, too.
Right. So it's, but it's definitely letting go of the reins of SVCreates.
Yeah, it's stepping down as CEO. But I'm not retiring from life. I'm not retiring from thinking.
Yeah.
And, it's hard for me to think that I won't be dabbling in some projects that are intellectually stimulating.
Yeah.
Because I need that in my life. I do, and want it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too. I was going to ask you, why kind of step down now? Because I feel like you have a lot of energy, and I think you have a lot to give. And I think the community will miss you. Do you know what I mean? Your leadership, your connections that you have, the history that you've kind of built, and the collaborations that you've been able to build. Some people probably don't know, you helped bring SPUR to San Jose. You helped bring ALF to San Jose. You've helped.
Well, that's an overstatement. I was part of the ALF early years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was the chair of ALF.
Yeah, so you were involved in that.
Yeah.
You've helped with the Small Wonders and Japantown, the new park that opened up. There, you definitely have left a mark.
School of Arts and Culture.
Schools of Art and Culture, and even helping Molly kind of.
We incubated Molly.
Yeah, so there's a lot that you have done, and even helping with First Act. Right,
Yeah.
Brendan coming to.
Oh yeah.
Right, and Tamara.
Yes.
Alvarado, a lot of those kind of things. You have quite a resume of influence in.
Thank you.
So the thing I would be thinking.
Why now?
Why now? When I feel because it doesn't seem like you lack energy or you're very.
No, I'm very healthy.
Yeah.
So you'll appreciate this, Daniel. I am getting older. Okay, it's not about less energy, but age is a real thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I will be turning 68 years old in December, and I still think that's young. But my grandchildren are 16, 14, 10, and 8.
Yeah.
And the next 10 years, it's it, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's a moment in time where you have to decide what's most important to you.
Yeah.
And family and friends at this age, while I'm still young enough to enjoy life, travel, you know, I'm all about good food, good wine, great conversations, great family gatherings, and so I want to take advantage of that while I'm still young enough and have enough energy. And you know, I mean, I think there's a time to actually pass the baton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't overstay your welcome
Yeah.
anyway or
Oh,
something.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, my average stay at an organization is 7 years.
Okay.
And this has gone longer.
Right.
Of course, we merged two organizations,
Yeah.
and there were some challenging times. So this is actually one of my longest runs.
Yeah. What would you, if you look back with, the merger of First Act into the Arts Council that became SVCreates in 2013?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As you look back at that, what was something that was the most challenging for you in these last 10 years, 12 years?
Well, as you know, and it probably isn't that public, there were extreme financial challenges with the former Arts Council.
Yeah.
And so they had been a partner of First Act's, of which First Act was never meant to be permanent. So we had the freedom. It was freedom and focus, the two Fs. That's what we always talked about, freedom and focus. And but we had these exit strategies and these partners, and Spur was part of that. The work we did with the School of Arts and Culture, the Downtown Association, the downtown music scene. We had a whole long list of initiatives.
Yeah.
And we were thoughtful and intentional about essentially embedding our board and our staff and resources in the organizations that would carry on our work.
Yeah.
But we were meant to sunset.
Right.
Okay? So there was this moment in time we had to make a decision, and it was really an intervention. Okay? And so that was really hard because you had to worry about payroll and, kind of, it's an overused analogy, but fly the plane while you're creating the roadmap, fueling it.
Yeah.
You're doing everything at once.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, the first couple years were not fun at all.
Yeah.
It was painful. It was hard. And then now the journey, fast forward, we went through the partnership acquisition of sorts, the merger of content, of which I feel very proud of and grateful. But we also had some challenging times with the Japantown project, and that's been rescoped. And you got to have a lot of tenacity and persistence in this field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're operating sort of at the intersection of the public realm and the private sector and the social sector and the cultural sector, a lot of complexity.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the attraction, because I'm attracted to complexity in my work, simplicity in my life.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, what would you say then? I have to cough. And is that camera still going? You want to restart? What would you say then, if you were going to give advice to people in 3 different areas that kind of your life kind of like scopes with, kind of like business? I think that you have a lot to offer on the business realm or private sector, and then maybe for the creative sector, and then, well, let's just do those 2 first, and then I'll add the third one in after.
Okay.
So, what advice would you give somebody who's looking to get involved in business? What's some advice in the business realm? What would you say?
Well, am I speaking to students of business
You're
for their
speaking
future?
as
This is my audience.
aged sage who's getting ready to retire, who has the
Yeah.
opportunity to give a
I'd like you to
charge.
reframe the question.
Okay, sure. Go
Okay,
ahead.
and the reframing has to do with bringing the business perspective into the cultural sector,
Okay.
and so that the audience is the leader of the cultural sector. But
Okay.
guess what?
Okay.
The cultural sector is business,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
small business.
Yeah, totally.
It is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a leader, what would I say? First of all, I sort of have my basic leadership advice, and then I have my specific.
Okay.
So my first is that you lead with integrity.
Yeah.
You do what you say you're going to do. You be your word.
Yeah.
Okay? And my belief is that nobody follows a leader they don't trust. Okay?
Yeah.
And so integrity is the foundation for a leadership relationship.
Yeah.
And there are leaders that lead with fear. We have some nationally that we can point to.
Sure.
That may work in the short term, but it doesn't in the long term.
Yeah.
Okay? So lead with integrity. The second one does have to do with vision. And part of it is that leaders are looking to go someplace, journey towards a future state.
Yeah.
That's part of leadership, right?
Yeah.
What will the future bring? Okay, so you have to have some direction,
Right.
and I believe that the more inspiring it is, the more opportunity you have to enroll others in it. Okay, but then because the very nature of leadership is going to the unknown, you have to have courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And if you're not scared, it's not courage.
Yeah.
I've been scared a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the fourth element is you need to bring some competency to the equation. Meaning you don't have to be it all, right?
Yeah.
But the vision to be able to implement, execution is everything,
Yeah.
that you have some competency that contributes to it.
Yeah.
And it could be your fundraising ability, your networks network of resources, your civic relationships, your ability to manage people and inspire people.
Yeah.
So do you see what I'm saying? That the package is integrity, vision, courage, and competency.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Awesome.
the package.
That's good.
That's the package.
That's
okay?
nice. Yeah.
And that's sort of the basic 101.
Yeah.
And by the way, I never learned that in business school.
Oh, really? So that you kind of put that together through your
Yes,
own experience?
through my own experience,
You have to write a book.
Maybe I will. Yeah. So then I think in the cultural sector, and these are my observations, is that we often stay in our own lane of our own network, and we don't engage in the broader community.
Yeah.
And so, as it relates to building a board or building an advisory council or a committee or whatever it is you're building in terms of human beings coming together, if they're all running in the same lane and from the same network and the same world view, the same mindset, doesn't do you any good because you just run around in circles. Closed circle.
Yeah.
So I think that the arts, the more they're able to engage outside of the pure arts circle, I think as a leader, you are bringing more networks, more resources, more perspective to the challenges at hand.
Yeah.
Now, every region is different, and everyone has its own sort of cultural ecosystem personality.
Right.
So you have to customize it to the region you're in.
Yeah.
Not the region you want to be in, the one that you're actually in.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a saying that you say about our region, right?
Which one?
Oh, there's multiple.
Give me more. Give me a little more of a hint.
Relevance.
Oh yeah. So in our ecosystem, which is, by the way, we are a multicultural community, right? And in many ways, I believe we're the future of our nation in terms of we look more today like what our nation will look like.
Right.
And that's, of course, what's causing a lot of fear.
Yeah.
It really is,
Yeah.
okay? And so what this new reality, this of a multicultural community, is you're bringing people from all over the world, you're bringing this breadth of diversity, is that you do not have what I would call, the traditional and historically successful European top-down,
Yeah.
you know,
Like you would see
model.
in Boston.
New York, Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're changing too.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not in any way trying to diminish who they are.
Right.
It's just sort of accepting the reality of who we are.
Yeah.
So we don't have like a dominant culture to rally around.
Right.
Okay? So where the saying that you were trying to get me to say was that in that soup,
Yeah.
in that multicultural soup that's filled with, you know, beauty and, you know, I find incredibly interesting and inspiring, is that relevance trumps excellence,
Right.
knowing that quality is always relevant,
Yeah.
but often relative.
Yeah.
And that's where you're from a lens, a different cultural lens.
Yeah.
There's different cultures that, you know, things aren't as important or they're more important.
Yeah.
And so you can't divorce that in a multicultural community.
Yeah.
Can't. So it's the nurturing the needs and the breadth of the challenges in a multicultural community that happens to be one of the wealthiest in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
That
So
does
you
play
can't-
just so much here because
Yes.
you do have, it's so diverse. And so the connection, the representation of that maybe ethnic group or that subgroup, right? The relevance to them is much more important than trying to get everybody to fit into one kind of category of like you're going to do the opera or the ballet or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then kind of tied to that, if you think about the breadth of diversity here, which by the way is one of our strengths, as you know. It's huge. And no one would debate that Silicon Valley isn't economically successful, right? So this multicultural soup has changed the world, right? So if you know, you've got that as a starting point, then you say, okay, well, if there isn't a dominant culture and people come here, but they're, you know, there's partly they want to engage and nurture their cultural heritage. Do you see that actually dissipates energy and pure numbers because not everyone's in that cultural community.
They may
not
all go to the same event at the same time.
And then you add, and this I'm now speaking a little bit to the uniqueness of our region, you add the suburban development pattern.
Right.
So the breadth of diversity, suburban development pattern. So we're more like a distributed network of nodes, and we're more like the web. The World Wide Web, right? And which is invisible unless you're engaged in it.
Right.
Think about it.
Totally.
You know, you only know about it if you're engaged in it. So
and you hear that about, especially even like the downtown core art scene. People who start to find out, like, I didn't know that was going on. And then if you're in it, you're like, there's so much going on.
There's so much going on. No, we have a vibrant cultural ecosystem. It may not be visible because we don't have what I would call the traditional top-down, you know, structures, galas, you know, that's actually connected to a dominant culture.
Yeah. That's cool. So then the leadership for the business side or leadership breakout. No, that was the culture. For the culture one, it's a break out of your kind of circles.
Okay, yeah. Well, the business side is you've got to pay attention to the basics of business. So you lean entrepreneurial. Why? Because we have to. You don't have the resources to.
So you got to be creative.
Right. You have to be creative.
Tenacious.
So you need tenacious. You need to and from a business perspective, and this is now specific to the cultural sector. I'm going to say something sort of as an introduction to the business side of it, because we often have, especially in this marketplace, you know, enough overhead to get us into trouble, but not enough capacity to get us out. Okay?
Right.
So that goes with what I said before is this distributed. We don't have large institutions. You know, I've been on a board of a $100 million institution. I've run a $7 million institution at Children's Discovery Museum, and I've been on a board of 150,000. You know, little culturally specific. Okay. So those are three different scenarios. some of the same issues,
Right.
right? But you do not have the capacity of the $100 million organization.
Yeah.
And so from a business standpoint, you have to pay attention to very closely to the relationship between earned income and contributed income. And earned income, you sell
Ticket
tickets,
sales
you
or-
sell hot dogs,
Yeah, magazines.
you sell magazines, right? You sell. So you've got a marketing. It's the marketplace.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Then on the contributed side is about donors, because if you think about the cultural sector, we have the challenges of the marketplace, I just mentioned,
Yeah.
without the upside potential. And we have some of the complexities of the public sector without the certainty of public sector funding mechanisms.
Okay.
So you have to balance that. So if you, as you grow, you better keep that balance in mind.
Right.
Otherwise, you set yourself up to fall off a cliff.
Sure. Yeah.
And so the relationship between earned income and contributed is, especially in a growth mode.
Yeah.
So at Children's Discovery Museum, we tried to keep it 65-35. So
65 was contributed and 35 was...
no, 65 was earned.
Okay.
And that's for a $6 to $8 million organization.
Yeah.
Because every time you grow, then that 35% of contributed starts ballooning.
Okay.
If you don't keep it in, if that goes to 50, do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So it's keeping the business model
Right.
at the forefront of your thinking,
Yeah.
while the passion and harnessing the passion of your staff, your donors, to actually deliver on your mission,
Yeah.
and for those two to come together,
Yeah.
if that makes some
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So I pay very close attention to the business model itself, the balance of earned and contributed, depending on what market you're in, shedding yourself of some of what you learned in business school. Because business school is Silicon Valley, and quite frankly, and I'm talking about the corporations, they don't follow what I would call the Management 101 of business school.
Which is
and
what?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah. Well, what's Management 101?
Management 101. It's very analytically focused, and it's very precise, and it's like, they have formulas that this is what you should do if you're in HR. This is what you should do. Well, in a startup culture like ours, the traditional rules of HR and even management don't necessarily deliver. And one of the reasons we get away with it is innovation creates this premium or this delta between cost and revenue. Okay? And so let me play this out.
Yeah.
So let's say
thinking.
I'll just use Apple for example. Do you think Steve Jobs cared about cost when he started Apple?
Yeah, probably not.
No, because in the beginning you don't have a lot of costs.
Right.
It's whether you deliver a product worth paying for and paying the premium for the innovation. Because if you're first to market, you're going to get a premium for that product. And so we have a whole valley filled with, if innovation is what you're selling, you've got a lot of premium in terms of the contribution margin of that product.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so when you have a lot of contribution, because innovation's built into price. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it does.
Just follow me.
Yeah.
If innovation is built into the price, then you can make a lot of management mistakes, and they're covered up by what the innovation brings.
Yeah.
Okay, and why I brought that up is that's the culture that we live in.
Yeah, that's
the culture that we live in. So when I say, some of the traditional Management 101 stuff that you learn in business school, that's not what, they want to bring MBAs, of which I am one, into and analyze everything. And if you miss the boat about you're actually delivering something of real value that people are willing to either pay for, that's the earned, versus contributed, that's the donor that believes in you.
Right.
It's some of the same stuff.
Yeah.
That you have to create this offering, and it goes back to relevance, because if it's not a relevant offering to a paying customer or to a donor,
right, it's not.
not
They're
going to
not
make
gonna,
it.
Yeah, not
going
to
to
make
make it.
So
I kind of went
great.
off on a tangent.
No, it's great though. That was it. I mean, that was it was like a school lesson, and I know that discussion is definitely SVCreates with the capacity building, like those
Yes.
kind of thoughts
Oh,
is
yeah.
very much a part
Yes.
what goes on with our capacity.
Yes.
Why don't you, at this point, since I brought up the capacity, why don't you give us the 4 visions of SVCreates?
Well, the 4
Capacity.
categories. Okay, so what do we do? So we call ourselves venture culturists,
Right.
and that's sort of when in Rome. You know, it resonates with the the greater community.
Yeah, it's
given
thinking
who
in
we are.
terms of,
Yes.
and it's trying to speak to those people who might
Yeah.
be contributors,
Yeah.
and at the
Yeah.
same time realize that
And-
we are innovative,
Yes.
but in a creative
Yeah,
sector.
and not necessarily speaking to the choir. This
Right.
is like the non-choir.
Right,
Okay?
totally. So it's not necessarily speaking to the arts people, the people outside of the arts
Yeah,
people, helping them have a
exactly.
language to participate.
Yeah. So what do venture capitalists do? They invest in companies and they surround them with the resources. Sometimes they take over companies and manage them, but
Yeah.
they're investing in their future success.
Right.
Okay. So SVCreates is set up to do that. We could call ourselves an intermediary. Nobody loves that word in Silicon Valley except maybe a few foundations that use it.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah, okay.
Because people want to do their own thing, not use an intermediary,
Right. Yeah.
But because of our ecosystem, we lean small. I'm a believer that an intermediary is actually needed. And so that's where this venture culturist
Right.
concept
Yeah.
of surrounding our ecosystem with a web of services to help them succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where we've landed in terms of our 4 areas of everything we do falls into one of these 4. The first one is to build the capacity of our ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that's we do funding, so there's grants,
Yeah.
we do workshops, we do coaching,
Yeah.
we do
Board.
roundtables, we do
Board
board
ed,
development. So building the capacity and the strength of the ecosystem.
So that the arts organizations and the artists can have, even as you were talking earlier, that kind of like that, the earned revenue and the
and that's
contributors,
part
so
of
they
it.
can see.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's
Yeah.
part of it because they have to balance everything I said previously. They have to balance in their organizational, challenges with their challenges. So then the second one is related to content, which is to increase. Let's see. So strengthen the capacity of the arts ecosystem, increase the visibility and value of our ecosystem.
Yeah.
Content Magazine was a strategy to do that.
Yeah.
So when I met you
Yeah. At Flames.
at Flames,
Well, we met before then, but yeah.
no,
When we had the real
we
talk.
had the real talk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I said to you, if you remember this,
Yeah.
Daniel, you have what I want,
I don't remember seeing that.
and then what I believe I have is what you need.
I think.
Does that sound like it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And what I meant by that is that you've created this beautiful magazine and everything that goes along with it, that gives voice to our creative sector, builds community,
Yeah.
paying gigs. There's some paying gigs
Yeah.
involved in that. And, so it helps to nurture the creative culture that's here and doesn't do it in an artful way.
Yeah.
Does that feel like
Yeah.
what you content
yeah,
media set up
yeah.
to do? Yeah. Okay.
Capacity, visibility.
Okay, and then the third one is accessibility. The first 2 are about the ecosystem and our artist community itself. The third one is about audience.
Yeah.
And that is that we believe that everyone should have access to the arts. And so we've had several initiatives and programs primarily focused on children, but not entirely,
Yeah.
that bring arts experiences, arts education to kids and markets and people that don't have access.
Yeah. Helping even teachers get either access to art programs or even art supplies.
Yeah. and then we through our access grants, it's giving grants to organizations that reach sectors of our community that are underrepresented or don't have access for financial reasons or other reasons, right? So, but anyway, so those are the three programmatic, and then the fourth one is about strengthening our organization. So there's a whole set of siempre mejor.
That's right.
Siempre mejor.
Always better.
Always better.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, that's good. So you've given us some leadership, business kind of advice. You've given us some kind of like cultural advice. Next one is just for just personal life. I mean, you like you even talked about you like kind of like the hectic busyness in your work.
Yeah, simplicity in my life.
I mean, you have a great network of women that you meet with on a regular basis, like really good friends. You were talking about you going after this to your book club.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you walk 70,000 steps a week, or that you're doing that goal.
Yeah.
You've been to Machu Picchu. So you've done a lot of stuff. And what is it then? What would you say for even young leaders or other people coming in and just as a sage, voice for life and balance and outside of work?
Yeah. So because I am a woman, that's my lens, right? And there's nothing better than girlfriends. Okay? So I've invested in a lot in my girlfriends over the years. And so the one thing that is emblematic, is that a word? Emblematic? I get my words confused, right? Is, have you heard about the Wild Water Women?
Yes, you guys used to go,
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
And we had a group of women from, 15 to 25 in that circle. These are highly accomplished women. And every year we would go to Ashland, Oregon. Yeah. We would go to theater. We would go down the Upper Klamath River, 4+ rapids, so there was adventure. Yeah. And then, shopping and spying and theater. And what I loved about it, well, first of all, this is going to sound counter to my approach in work. Okay. Is that I made every single decision.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't want any consensus building. I didn't want feedback. Yeah.
But I would think actually for the other people, they'd appreciate it.
They loved it.
Because they're leaders in there.
Exactly.
It's like, oh my gosh, I can go and I know what's going to happen. Yeah.
So we had, just to give you a flavor, we had somebody who has been an undersecretary of defense, a college president, a publisher. There's a lot. These were accomplished women. Yeah. The other thing I'm proud of is that, and we would hike together and dine together. And remember, I made all the decisions, the play that we watched, the meals that we ate, and all of that, is that there was no gossip. We talked about, strategies, the nuclear defense strategies with Russia. We talked about politics, of course. We talked about, important issues that we all cared about. Yeah. And these were all smart people, and so we engaged. But it requires somebody to actually make the effort.
Make the lead,
to do it.
Yeah.
And so I just sunset it. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? And it was time, 20 years is a long run. Yeah. But anyway,
so then would you say
good friends.
Yeah, so good friends. So like a community of support.
Community of support. Yeah. Community of support. And then I'm very, spiritual practices, whether it's meditation, prayer, yoga, that. What do we call that area of,
spirituality.
Spirituality.
Yeah, our souls.
Yeah, souls, yeah. Nurturing our souls. Yeah. I'm big on, arts inspire me. Yeah. And so, aesthetics. And the aesthetics, and, we have that in common. Yeah. We may not have the exact same aesthetic, but we have that in common. You only, one of my sayings is you only sit in a room, you can only sit in a room you can only sit in a room one room at a time. One room at a time. Yeah. You can only sit in one room at a time. Yeah. And so you better like the room. Yeah. And so to me, the aesthetics matter. Yeah. Okay.
I like it too. You've moved since I've known you. You've moved quite a few times.
Yeah.
The fun thing is though to see because you have what you like.
Oh yeah.
And you bring it and you set it.
It's a new canvas for me. That's sort of my artistic practice is moving.
Moving, yeah.
And creating a new environment.
Yeah.
It actually really is.
Yeah, I think when I first met you were at Access, and
Yeah.
then you've moved to 360.
Then,
and
well,
then you
no,
were-
I went to Oakland. Did
Yeah,
you ever go
that's
to my
right.
Oakland place?
No, I never went up
Oh
to
my
the-
God, it
yeah.
was gorgeous.
Yeah, sounded-
So, and
Yeah.
views are really important to me.
Yeah.
So then, health-wise, you know, I am not. I don't take one single medication.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a glass of wine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No medication.
No prescriptions.
No prescriptions.
All-
0,
No
and-
non-prescription
yeah,
drugs.
Yeah, and then I think that, and we were talking earlier about multitasking. So Audible,
Yeah.
books, and walking. Walking
Yeah.
is my form of primary form of exercise.
Exercise.
And so that's also a time
Yeah.
to also reflect, check in with friends
Yeah.
and family.
So do you
friends
do-
and family are really important to me.
Do you do that? Do you do family calls when you're walking too as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, because I've been driving, you know,
Yeah.
since my relocation during COVID
Yeah.
to Nevada City, I have plenty of time in the car. So yes, always
Yeah.
checking in with friends and
So-
and creating opportunities. I mean, one of my intentions is to create extraordinary experiences for family and friends.
Yeah,
So I live by that, and I literally intentionally create them every year. A new list every
Yeah.
year.
So you do, like, you have a vision.
I have a framework.
for your personal life, and then you also have one for. What would you say was your business or your
Okay.
professional life?
I have
well,
one.
well, first your personal one was creating something experiences. What was it?
Oh no, I have 7. I
you have
actually
seven different. How do you keep track
I don't
of
know.
those? One for each day you work on.
No. I reflect on it all the time.
Okay. Yeah. all
Yeah.
right.
So I don't know if you want to hear all 7.
I do actually.
You
I'm really
do?
curious.
You do?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay.
If you don't mind
So if I
sharing
can
them.
remember, I can remember.
Yeah.
So the first one is to live with integrity, simplicity, and possibility.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So that goes back to the you know what I said earlier.
Yeah, it fits all. Yeah.
And this isn't necessarily in order of
Sure.
make healthy decisions every day. So that's about what you eat, how you choose to spend your time.
Yeah.
What you don't do,
Yeah.
like don't take prescription drugs
Yeah.
and don't drink too much alcohol, right?
Yeah.
So that's make healthy choices every day. The create extraordinary memories with
Yeah.
it's really memories with family and friends because memories are driven by experiences.
yeah, that
I
history.
said that earlier.
Yeah.
To manifest beauty and joy in everyday life.
Yeah. Awesome.
That goes back to the room. You only
Yeah.
can sit in one room at a time.
Yeah.
Better be good. Let's see how many I'm up
That's 3 or 4.
to. Okay,
That's 4.
here's my
David's
work
behind
one.
the camera counting, keeping
Okay,
track. Oh.
to be a leader, to be a thoughtful and inspiring leader of important work.
Cool.
And I didn't specify what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Important
of
work.
important work.
Yeah.
The
And
financial.
important means
Important to community, important to the world, important to the
bringing good to the community in
yeah.
some ways important.
and
right?
bringing good
Yeah.
to the community in whatever form it is. And then let's see, how many am I up to now?
That's 5.
Okay, to attract the resources equal to my intentions. These are all intentions.
Yeah.
So that's the last one.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, sure. It
you
makes
have
sense.
to have those they build on,
Yeah.
but then you have to live.
That's the pragmatic
so
business
it is.
training.
It's to
The
attract
resources.
the resources equal to my intentions.
Yeah.
So I've forgotten one. What is it?
I'm not sure.
Well, did we have if I got
It
6
could have been. It could have been 7. It might have been 7. We could have
don't
lost
know.
track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Those are all great.
we're darn close.
Yeah, we're going to put those in the
Yeah.
notes actually.
Oh,
because
I know.
those are-
Oh, no.
okay,
You're gonna
okay.
love this one.
Okay, here's the last one.
To love
Drum roll.
and be loved by the loves of my life.
Oh,
I used to
yeah.
have trying to find the love of my life.
Yeah.
I scrapped that
Yeah.
because there's loves of our lives.
Totally.
And so that's where you invest in your family.
Yeah.
And, I think you know this. My brother is brain injured. And, bringing him joy is expressing to be loved and loved. I'm going to start to cry.
You're going to make me cry too. As soon as I saw it.
So creating experiences for him
Yeah.
brings me joy.
Yeah. That's cool.
But that's just one example.
Yeah.
It's just that but you have to invest in that.
Yeah.
You have to invest in your friends and your family.
Yeah.
And granted, I haven't been that lucky in love, but I'm always, that's the future. The future's still there.
Yeah. You always have a very happy disposition, I feel like.
I'm a happy person.
Yeah.
I am.
Have you always been that way? Like even as a kid?
I think I have the happy gene.
Yeah, the happy
I
gene.
do.
Yeah.
And I've navigated some pretty challenging things in my life.
I mean, we don't need to go into
we're not going to go into all of it.
Yeah, we're not going to, but yeah, I mean, you shared
Yes.
some of your story.
Yes.
And I don't think, like, that's the thing. I think that's what makes you a unique leader, because even some of the difficulties that you've kind of navigated through your life hasn't made you pessimistic or bitter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or even resentful. Some people do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? A little,
Yeah. No, I think I do have the happy gene. And then what do they say? I think the research shows that there is such a thing as a happy gene. But a lot of it's how you navigate the circumstances of your life.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to have challenges.
Yeah.
But the happier people are those that it's the way one navigates.
Yeah. Make healthy
Decisions
decisions.
every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Oh, and here's another new revelation for me. I used to focus in on the outcome, but I'm now focusing more on the habit that produces the outcome.
Oh, that's very good too.
And this isn't my idea. It's
Right.
it's in the out there in the materials of.
Totally.
But so it's like, don't focus on the scale. Focus on the habit, which
Yeah.
is the 10,000 steps a day. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's I've become more, more inclined to. And it kind of goes back to that framework and, those 7 categories of which we may not have hit them all.
Yeah.
Then every year I choose 3 of them to
Yeah.
focus on for the
Yeah.
year. I mean, it's kind of, on the one hand, and I get together with my girlfriends every year to go over our intentions.
Yeah, when did you first start doing those kind of like
Probably
7 to
15 years ago.
15 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
and the intentions haven't changed, you see.
Right,
It's the things
okay.
under it that change.
Right. So each year you don't kind of like decide what are going to be my new
Yeah.
7. You've had these kind of things that have kind of been fleshed out. These are your core
Yeah.
kind of important values. And then
Yeah.
they're implemented
Different
with
ways.
different tactics throughout the year.
Exactly.
But those core
Yeah.
kind of things.
And I track them and I share them with my friends and we talk about them.
Yeah.
And I mean, on one level, it can sort of be, you can overdo it where you spend too much time tracking and thinking and less doing. But I
Right.
think I have a balance. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is being a person who tracks and keep, you know what I mean? I'm not, obviously that's not that wears me down,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
over track,
Yeah.
which is a fault, definitely. But yeah, you keep a good balance of being able to track and still keeping, without feeling like it's a legalism, like I have to hit these kind of things.
Yeah, well, remember, intentions are different than, intentions are always, can be there. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not.
Right.
There's not an end goal.
Right.
And,
Totally.
it's more of a guiding principle,
Right.
if you will.
Yeah.
And then you focus on things that bring that guiding principle to life.
Yeah, and they could change, right?
Yeah, and
and
they
so
can
now you're
change.
going into retirement.
Yeah.
Or
Whatever it
no
is.
longer going to be the
Come up with a new
director.
name for
I know,
me,
right?
please.
No longer going to be the director of
Yeah.
SVCreates. It'll be interesting to see how you implement those 7 things.
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
year. You've been thinking about that. I imagine.
yeah. No, I mean
That's the reason.
The week after, I mean, we have this Cornerstone event next
Yeah,
week, right?
yeah.
The week after, I fly down to Mexico and get the keys to the house
Yeah.
that Mariles Castro and I are building
Yeah.
together. So
Yeah.
another dear friend,
Yeah.
another adventure, and so I started taking Spanish, doing my own Spanish. Audible type things.
Oh, yeah.
And I got through the first, Spanish one.
Yeah.
And it was just hard to keep going every day when you had all these,
Yeah.
so I'm going to, bring that back.
Yeah.
I'm working on a signature dish cookbook for my family so
Oh,
that
awesome.
I create this
Yeah.
book. I actually would like to write a book.
Yeah.
I haven't really settled in on the substance of it yet.
And you're a real good writer. You write well, and you
Thank
can
you.
write quick quickly too. I think you could do a book. That would be.
I think I could.
I think you could.
I think I could. I think I could.
I'm looking forward to that.
So I have travel plans.
You'll at least have one book sale.
Okay, there you go. So I have travel plans.
Yeah.
So my 2 teenage grandsons, 16 and 14, big athletes, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go to a European soccer game.
Oh,
they want to go to London and do, or Manchester, or whatever. What is it? Manchester something.
Manchester City, Manchester United. There's 2 Manchester.
United. Okay. So we have a trip to Paris or London. I think it's London.
Yeah.
That we're going to do.
Cool.
My oldest granddaughter, she is a Mamma Mia fan, and there's Mamma Mia the Party. We're going to London to go to Mamma Mia the Party.
Oh my
she
gosh.
knows every lyric to every song.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
so-
all the ABBA music too, right?
It's all
Yeah. There's an ABBA museum in
Stockholm.
Stockholm.
Been
Yeah.
there. Been there. Yeah. And there's an ABBA concert hall that they've created technology with what do you call it when
like
it's
holographic
it's like a
type?
holographic type that I have gone because my childhood friend Elaine, she is like an ABBA nutcase fan, right? I really haven't been, but I went along with her, and it was absolutely incredible. I highly recommend it.
You're more of you like Dylan, like Bob Dylan.
I love Bob Dylan.
What is it? What does it attract you about Bob
Poet.
Dylan? Poet. Okay.
So it's the poetry, it's the words more than the music, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's Leonard Cohen and Bob. I'm sort of stuck in the Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan,
Yeah, okay.
Joan Baez
Yeah.
era of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is there one particular Bob Dylan song that you kind of always find
You know
yourself
what?
coming back to?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's a few. I love. Well, I was going to say Hallelujah, but that's Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
But Bob Dylan's is "I Shall Be Released."
I Shall Be Released.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
And it is tied to a lot of the pain I've had in my life along the way. But it's just this feeling of I shall be released.
I Shall Be Released. Yeah.
And then I like. That's probably. What is that? He did this one. Remember when he got into the religious?
Yeah.
So there's some songs in there, and
You're
of
gonna
course,
serve
when I
somebody.
haven't. Yes, you got to
You're
serve
gonna serve
somebody.
somebody,
Yeah.
yeah.
And as you know, but probably people don't. My dad's a Lutheran minister, so
Yeah.
I grew up in deep spiritual Christian foundation,
Yeah.
and so there's things like that really touch me
Yeah.
that are tied to my there's
Upbringing.
upbringing, nostalgia, and
Yeah.
and spirituality.
Yeah.
So and then what's the one? I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan.
Is there any song, like I know some of the people that I listen to, like there's always kind of like one song that I'm like, I skip over it.
Yeah.
Is there
Oh
one
yeah.
like? Yeah. Are you,
Well, I'm thinking of there's several with Leonard Cohen because he.
hit or miss,
It's less so than Bob Dylan. I'm almost attracted to most of it.
Yeah.
I wish I could think of the one that I really love, but it's not. It was sort of his non-traditional, and I haven't listened to his current music.
Yeah.
Like he's produced some.
Is he still doing
Yeah.
music? I haven't
He-
since the Traveling Wilburys. I haven't heard him
I
do
don't.
much.
I don't know. He's
Yeah.
he's produced something.
Yeah.
And I'm less attracted. I'm more the old
Yeah.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's kind of an interesting way to end. But congratulations, you're going to get the Cornerstone
I
Award,
know,
which this will come
yeah.
out the day before. So if you're available, go to the Hammer Theater on Thursday, the October 19th.
Yeah.
And Connie will receive an award, and you're going to be interviewed by Carrie
Carrie Hapner
Adams.
Yes. Yeah, we got
Sorry,
that.
Carrie.
Yeah.
And again, Connie, thank you very much. Like, I have been blessed by your leadership, and so is the city.
I have been blessed by you and all that you do.
Well, thank you. All right.
Oh.
That's good. And then thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast with the legendary
Oh,
Connie
please.
Martinez.
Oh, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Connie. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the South Bay creatives. This episode's music is 408 by Jack Pavlina. Follow him on Spotify and also on his Instagram at Jack Pavlina Music.